Now, after a very successful United States visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Cairo for a two-day state visit. Prime Minister was received with a very warm embrace from Egypt's Prime Minister when he arrived at the airport. This was then followed by a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor. The Indian community sang the songs and chanted Vande Mataram and Modi Modi. They also performed a dance for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. All this was followed by a roundtable meeting with his Egyptian counterpart. Discussions centered around strengthening cooperation in trade and investment, renewable energy, green hydrogen, the IT, the digital payment platforms, pharmaceuticals, and also strengthening people-to-people ties. The Prime Minister then also held a meeting with the members of the Bohra Muslim community and also with the Grand Mufti of Egypt. This is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first visit to Egypt and is also in fact the first official bilateral visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Egypt since the year 1997.
A lot to learn from India's private sector. Under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, the private sector in India grew tremendously in the world of infrastructure and engineering and manufacturing, and these are the sectors that we specialize in. So I had the privilege of having a one-on-one meeting with His Excellency, where he gave me a lot of invaluable insight and advice that I hope to take back to my company and start working.
I believe both countries have a lot to gain with each other's partnership, and it was very encouraging to hear the announcement early in January that India and Egypt have elevated the partnership to be a strategic partnership, and this visit reaffirms that intent, and I'm sure this will help both the countries grow their business relations, their cultural relations, and also result in a lot more growth and prosperity for both the countries.
Egyptian culture and Indian culture somehow matches very well. Both the cultures are old civilized people, and I'm sure not only strategic partnership, but we'll have some more, fundamental mutual partnership. Will get stronger with Egypt. Egyptians are very warm. We love their warmth, and that's what keeping us here. And we want to grow this bond further.
We are super excited to have PM Modi ji with us, and if given a chance, we will be talking to him. And I work with the World Health Organization, so we would like to see how health is progressing in India and how we can contribute from here. And super excited to have him.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now in Cairo for a two-day state visit. Those images that you see on your screens are of when Prime Minister Narendra Modi reached the Cairo airport and the warm embrace that he got from Egypt's Prime Minister. Now, this was followed by a ceremonial welcome and a guard of honor. In fact, the people from the Muslim community also sang songs and chanted Vande Mataram and Modi Modi. There was also a dance performance for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. My colleague Shahira is now joining me from Egypt. Shahira, it seems like, there were a range of issues that Prime Minister spoke about, and also at the moment is looking at making sure that the people-to-people ties between India and Egypt also see a new high.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Can you hear me, Shahira?
Yes, I can hear you.
Shahira, it seems like Prime Minister Narendra Modi has had discussions over a variety of issues. He's spoken about the fact how investment can also be flown into India and how people-to-people ties between both the countries can also see a new high in coming years.
So I'm not sure I'm hearing you correctly, but today is the second and final day of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Egypt. A visit that is expected to give impetus to the strategic partnership launched during President Sisi's visit to India in January, when he was chief guest at the Republic Day celebrations. So yesterday, the Indian Premier met with his Egyptian counterpart. We saw that Prime Minister Mostafa Madbouly greeted him at the airport very warmly. He also met with several cabinet ministers in roundtable talks and with other prominent Egyptian figures including the Grand Mufti of Egypt, who issues religious edicts. He also addressed members of the Indian community here in Egypt, made up mostly of business owners and investors who have been in Egypt for a long time. And today, the agenda of Prime Minister Modi is that he will hold talks with President Sisi, which are expected to focus on cross-border terrorism, security issues, and of course economic and trade ties. He will also visit a very important mosque here in Egypt, the Hakim Amrillah Mosque, which is one of the oldest, it's actually the fourth oldest Egyptian mosque, and it's the second biggest in Egypt after Ibn Tulun. The significance of that mosque is that it has been renovated by the Dawood Bohra community of India. India has a sizable Dawood Bohra population, and it's
Right.
also a community that supports Prime Minister Modi. Finally, expected today also is a visit to the Heliopolis War Cemetery, where around 4,000 Indian soldiers who fought in World War I are believed to be buried. So Prime Minister Modi will pay his respects there today. They fought on behalf of Egypt,
Right, Shaira.
defending Egypt against the Ottoman forces.
Thank you, Shaira. My colleague joining us now from Egypt and talking about the kind of conversations Prime Minister has had over the past 24 hours.